Welcome to the Main Street Preps High School Football Wrap-Up. Nobody brings you more comprehensive coverage of high school sports in Middle Tennessee than Main Street Preps. Today's show is brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Remember, fans don't let fans drive drunk. Now, please welcome the host of the Main Street Preps High School Wrap-Up Show, Chris Yao.
Welcome back into another edition of the Main Street Preps High School Football Wrap-Up Show presented by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Once again, I'm Chris Yao. I'm your host, and I'm looking forward to getting you to each of our local high school football reporters from around the mid-state who were out and about at high school football games this past weekend, and they're going to tell you all about what went on in their areas. We'll start up in Montgomery County.
Hi, I'm Brady McIntyre, sports editor at Main Street, Clarksville, here to bring you a little bit of a wrap-up on what happened on Friday night in the area. Clarksville High stayed unbeaten, taking out West Creek 48-7 behind a big performance from their offensive line, getting scores from several different players. Rossview also continued a little bit of a roll that they're on, getting a 40-0 win over Northeast. They've got shutouts in each of their last three games, beating West Creek, Northwest, and Northeast. Speaking of Northwest, they struggled with Franklin Road Academy, losing that game 55-7. Kirkwood's unbeaten start finally came to an end, losing their first game 5 games in, losing to Dixon County 42-12 in a big region game. Kenwood also took a loss this week, losing to Hillsboro 42-14. Pearl Cone defeated Montgomery Central 61-0, and Grace Christian Academy took out Clarksville Academy 36.
We'll stay up in the northernmost part of the coverage area as Robertson County, and David Wilson has a report from Robertson County. David?
Hey everyone, my name is David Wilson, sports reporter for the Robertson County Connection. Here to give you a quick recap of high school football in the Robertson County area in week 5 of the high school football season. It was really a tough week for the Robertson County overall, as only one team was able to pick up a win this week. It was the East Robertson Indians, continuing their perfect start to the year. They moved to 5-0 with their win over Joe Burns by a final score of 49-12. East Robertson running back Isaiah Groves was at it yet again in Cross Plains. He had 15 carries for 186 yards and 3 touchdowns in the win over their Robertson County rival. Joe Burns showed some flashes of things in this matchup. Amari Cotton was able to show things with his legs and his arm, had a touchdown pass to Luke Miller in the back of the end zone on a 4th down from the 15-yard line. He also had a rushing touchdown late in that game, but East Robertson continues their hot start. They will have a showdown with Smith County this week on Friday Night Lights. That'll be an interesting matchup to watch on MyTV 30. Station Camp defeated Greenbrier by a final score of 26-20. Greenbrier was up 20-3 at the half thanks to rushing touchdowns, 3 of them by quarterback Nolan Carson, but Station Camp came roaring back in the second half, made a change at the quarterback position that really boosted that rally, and then Greenbrier quarterback Nolan Carson got hurt in the 4th quarter late in that game, so his status will be one to watch ahead of this week's matchup against White House. But Station Camp comes roaring back to still win late in a region game against Greenbrier. Springfield lost to Centennial by a final score of 35-0. Parker Betts and that offense could really never get things going down there in Franklin this weekend. Their first play came in Centennial territory came in the second half off a Timothy Bush turnover. So just looking to get some consistency out of that offense. Look for them to try to continue to get the ball to Clarence Cobbins, to Jaden Hurst, to Lamaris Dallin on that Yellow Jacket offense moving forward in this week's showdown against Portland at Portland in a region matchup. Forest defeated White House Heritage by a final score of 49-21. White House Heritage quarterback Xavier Murray was 12 of 14 passing for 143 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Star running back Adrian Bonilla did not play this weekend. It was a coach's decision on Bonilla sitting. He did have some penalties in the previous week's game against Cheatham County that really cost the team after the play unsportsmanlike conduct. So don't know the story there, but it was a coach's decision on Bonilla not playing. And then finally, Marshall County defeated White House and handed the Blue Devils their first loss of the year in a 53-14 game up there. Michael Albin had 18 carries for the Blue Devils for 83 yards and 2 touchdowns. As I mentioned earlier, they will look to bounce back this week in a matchup between the Blue Devils and the Greenbrier Bobcats. But that's it for here in Week 5 in the Robertson County area. We'll talk to you next week.
Looking forward to more from around the north end of the coverage area, but let's go all the way to the south where Wade Neely has a report from Pulaski and Giles County.
Hey guys, Wade Neely here, sports editor of the Pulaski Citizen. A quick update on our teams. Well, I should say team, as only one of our squads in action last Friday, and it was a tough night for the Richland Raiders as they dropped the Battle of Beaufort Station 62-28. Cornersville comes in and bullies the Raiders, capitalizing on 5 takeaways and leading directly to 27 points. The Bulldogs racing out to a big 42-14 margin at half and kind of putting it on cruise control for the duration of the ball game. Tough loss there for the Raiders as Bryce Miller had 2 passing touchdowns, one to Jaden Pryor, one to Jake Sands, and then we saw rushing touchdowns from Andrew Huff and Luke Eastlick. Richland in a tough spot now. They are 2-3 overall, and they are 1-1 in region play, but an awfully tough region. So Richland drops the rivalry game to Cornersville. They head now to Huntland, where the Hornets will await them. Huntland is 0-4, and they are 0-1 in region play, but they're a scrappy team, especially when they're playing at home. They come in off a loss to Eagleville last Friday. Giles County was off a week ago, but they are back in action, and they're back at home as they get set to host Lincoln County in the 2023 iteration of the Elk River rivalry. This is a rivalry that was dominated by Lincoln County throughout the 70s and 80s into the 90s, but finally Giles County kind of turned the tide with their first win in 2012, and it's been Giles County having their way with the Falcons the last couple of meetings, but it's been a lot closer than you might think between these two teams. Lincoln County comes in with a record of 2-3. They suffered a loss to Tullahoma in their Friday night matchup last week. Giles County now coming in with a 3-2 overall record. And the Falcons are very well coached, as Richland Raider alum Eddie Cunningham will bring his squad in. Again, that game will be played at Sam Davis Park. If you can't make it to Sam Davis Park, we encourage you can listen to every single Giles County and Richland game on Pulaski Citizen Live. Make sure you download the Mixlr app in your App Store or Google Play Store and search PCL GCHS or search PCL Richland. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can get updates anytime that we go live. You can also visit PulaskiCitizen.com and you can click on the button that says Pulaski Citizen Live. That will bring you live play-by-play coverage as Richland travels to Huntland and Giles County is set to host Lincoln County.
We've also got reports from Lawrence County and South Williamson County, and that's Maurice Patton who has a report now.
Thanks, Chris. Week 5 was a big week for Murray County football as all 4 11-man teams in the county won for the first time in 6 years. Yeah. Columbia Academy goes up to Donaldson Christian and picks up a big 42-30 region victory behind 307 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns from Monte Baldwin. Not to be outdone, Columbia Central defeated Lawrence County 31-0 in Region 5-5A play, and Caden McCoy was huge in that one as well. 14 carries, 268 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also, Mount Pleasant down in Summertown, 46-0, and Spring Hill goes on the road for another victory, 27-14 at Lawson, their second in 3 weeks. So again, all 4 Murray County 11-man teams won on the same night for the first time since September 1st, Labor Day weekend, 2017. So congratulations to them. Also, Independence going on the road as well, playing a game that doesn't involve overtime. Took care of that by getting up 28-0 and holding on for a 28-7 win at Beach. Additionally, Loretto gets a field goal from Patton Simbeck. It wasn't late, but it was the difference in a 24-21 victory over Lewis County in Region 5-2A play. And finally, Summit on the road in Region 6-6A falls at Brentwood 20-0. Be sure and check out MainStreetMurray.com for all of this coverage. Thanks.
Our first break of the day. When we come back, more from around the mid-state on the Main Street Preps High School Football Wrap-Up Show We'll be right back after this.
It was just a few drinks. I'm good.
I thought it was good.
After every game, we always have a few. It's no big deal. It was no big deal.
Hey, I can hold my liquor. I thought I could hold my liquor.
At Dixon Tater Shack, we take loaded baked potatoes to a whole new level. We're not just any potato joint, we're the best this side of the Mason-Dixon line. Whether you're a traditionalist who loves classic flavors or a culinary adventurer seeking bold new combinations, we've got you covered. Located at 728 East College Street. Dine in or take out. Follow us on Facebook. Call us at 615-740-7111.
Complete Service Heat and Air is a trusted provider of top-notch heating and cooling solutions dedicated to ensuring optimal comfort and efficiency for residential and commercial spaces. Complete Service Heat and Air is located in White Bluff, Tennessee. We do service and repair on heating and air the right way 24/7 service. Call us at 615-797-3997. Serving Cheatham, Davidson, Dixon, Hickman, Humphreys, Montgomery, and Williamson counties. Derryberry's Heat and Air has been proudly serving the Middle Tennessee area for over 35 years. We have been voted Sumner County's best heat and air company for the past 8 years. For outstanding service, call Derryberry's at 615-452-8121.
As an Allstate agent in Gallatin, Larry Maynard knows many local families. His knowledge and understanding of the people in this community helps him provide customers with outstanding service. Give Larry a call at 615-452-1500.
Welcome back into the Main Street Preps High School Football Wrap-Up Show presented by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. We've got more reports from folks who were out at games over the weekend. We'll start up in Wilson County, where Tommy Bryan has a report.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tommy Bryan, sports editor of the Wilson Post in Lebanon, and here's a look at what went on in high school football in Wilson County during Week 5. Down 14-3 at halftime, Green Hill rallied and scored 3 touchdowns in a span of 6 minutes in the third quarter to defeat Lebanon 31-21 in a Region 4 6A game. Cascade eked out a 28-21 victory over Watertown. Mount Juliet outscored Cookeville by a score of 38-14. Nashville Christian led 42-0 at the half and celebrated homecoming with a 55-0 win over Mount Juliet Christian Academy. Shelbyville Central spoiled Wilson Central's homecoming with a 42-8 victory over the Wildcats, and Friendship Christian got 7 touchdowns and over 300 yards rushing from senior Tyson Walcott in a 56-8 victory over Charter Republic. Here's a look at what's happening in Week 6. Mount Juliet will play at Wilson Central in a Region 4 6A game. And for the first time in some 59 years, Watertown and Lebanon will mix it up. That game set for Friday at Tribble Field, Watkins Stadium. Friendship Christian travels to Murfreesboro to take on Middle Tennessee Christian School. DCA visits Mount Juliet Christian Academy at Ed Suey Field. And Gallatin will challenge undefeated Green Hill, that game in North Mount Juliet, Friday, September 22nd. That's a look at high school football in Wilson County. For Main Street Preps, I'm Tommy Bryan. I will talk to you later.
Just south of that is Rutherford County, and of course, Murfreesboro Post's Monty Hale Jr. standing by with a little bit of information from there. Monty, take it away.
Hello, I'm Monty Hale, sports editor of the Murfreesboro Post, here to take a look at last week's Week 5 high school football action. It was Oakland 42, Blackman 7, big win for the Patriots as they continue to march over opponents. Since losing Week 2, they've allowed 25 points. Riverdale 41, Rockville 6. Riverdale scored on the first series, well, actually the first play of the game, and it was a long night for Rockville. Smyrna shut out Laverne 16-0 and got the goose egg in the win ledger off its back. Middle Tennessee Christian School 56, Webb 6. Eli Wilson 228 yards rushing on only 8 carries. Scored 3 touchdowns as well. Providence Christian Academy 20, Grundy County 14 in overtime over at MTSU. Congrats to the Lions. That's 2 out of 3. Stewart's Creek 28, Cane Ridge 13. First time the Creek has ever beaten Cane Ridge. And Eagleville 35, Huntland nothing. The Eagles on homecoming night got back in the win column, and it was a key victory as they try to fight and claw their way into the playoffs. This week we've got Siegel at Blackman. Big game here. Both teams certainly have playoff plans, but it's a big game for Siegel. If they can win this game, I think they will be continue to prove that they really belong in the discussion this year when it comes to the playoffs. For Blackman, much needed. Coming off a tough one to Oakland, but they'll bounce back. Oakland at Rockvale. Tough one for Rockvale. They are at home, but they'll have to really flush that one away from last Friday night at Riverdale. Friendship Christian at MTCS. Game of the night across the state, I think. 2 very, very even teams. Cane Ridge at Laverne. Can Laverne get over the hump and win a region game? PCA is at Kings Academy, their first region game of the year. Riverdale at Coffee County in region play. Coffee County, the newbie in the league this year. Look for Riverdale to have a good outing there. Smyrna at McGavick. Smyrna coming off its first win of the season. And we've got Antioch at Stewart's Creek. Antioch's 2-0 in league play. The Creek is 1-0, so a big game in that region. All right, that'll do it for this week's recap and look ahead. I'm Monty Hale, sports editor of the Murfreesboro Post.
Of course, the metro Nashville area is ripe with a lot of high school football right now, and Russell Venozzi has plenty to tell you about on his report. Russell?
Lipscomb Academy got a much-needed win last Friday. The Mustangs defeated Innsworth 24-10 after opening the season with losses in 3 of their first 4 games. Defensive back CJ Jim Coyley made a big difference in this one. He blocked 2 field goals, broke up a pass in the end zone right before halftime, and also broke up another pass in the goal line in the fourth quarter. I'm not sure the Mustangs would have won without him. He came up huge. Lipscomb is also working on a new quarterback after the transfer of Deuce Knight back to George County, Mississippi. So Tav Schaefer has taken over, and he's done pretty well in his first 2 games. On Friday, didn't have a perfect outing, but he did throw for 140 yards and a pair of touchdowns as he settles into that new role. Brentwood Academy, which also entered the week 1-3, did not fare as well. The Eagles lost to McCauley 29-15 after cutting McCauley's lead to 1 score midway through the fourth quarter. Quarterback George McIntyre was intercepted 3 times. And life won't get much easier for Brentwood Academy this week as it goes on the road to face defending state champion Baylor. Pearl-Cohn, CPA, Lipscomb, and Oakland all rolled to wins in Week 5. They make up the top 5 in our Main Street Preps football rankings, along with Lipscomb Academy, which moved back up to number 5. And watch out for independents, too. The Eagles debuted in the MSP Top 25 at number 16. They knocked off Beach 28-7 last week, and they host Ravenwood on Friday. Chris, back to you.
Thanks so much for giving us that. Let's go up to Sumner County now, where Blaine Keller has a report.
Week 5 of the Sumner County football season was filled with some big individual performances, and as teams across the county prepare for what could be the biggest week of the high school football season, let's take a brief look back at the week that was in Sumner County. I'm Sumner County Sports Editor Blaine Keller, and this is your Sumner County football snapshot. Pope Prep running back Elijah Robb quite literally put the Knights on his back as Pope Prep won 41-14 in a region game against Goodpasture. Robb rushed for 272 yards and accounted for 5 of Pope's 6 touchdowns quite literally bowling over some guys from the Cougars, and a big win and a big individual performance from him. He also caught 2 passes for 37 yards to put himself over the 300 all-purpose yard mark in the game. Gallatin quarterback Jackson Stroup, another big performer in Sumner County this past week. At Warren County, he almost had half as many passing touchdowns as he did completions. The sophomore went 11 of 12 in the air for 5 touchdowns as the Green Wave thrashed Warren County, the Pioneers, 56-7 on the road. Hendersonville and Station Camp were the 2 other teams who picked up big wins this week. Hendersonville with a statement win over 6A, previously undefeated Siegel, and Station Camp rallied in the second half in Region 5 4A action to give head coach Chris Bain the first win in his head coaching career. Also snaps a 4-game losing streak that started the year for the Bison. On the other side of things, Beach, Westmoreland, Portland, White House, and Liberty Creek all fell. They try to regroup this week, and one of them is regrouping in the biggest game that the county has to offer, the battle for Drakes Creek between the Buccaneers and Hendersonville. We'll have you covered on that end. Be sure to check out our coverage there, as well as games involving region teams involving undefeated foes. Portland and Springfield face off, Liberty Creek and Westmoreland in an intra-county matchup, as well as Gallatin and Green Hill. Those will be the games we've gotten you covered for. But before that, we're wrapping up the week. This is your Sumner County Football Snapshot. Back to you guys.
Out in Dixon and Cheatham counties, where Casey Patrick is standing by.
Hi, my name is Casey Patrick. I'm the sports reporter for the Dixon Post and the Cheatham County Exchange. We're going to do a little Week 5 review. It's weird to think that we're already halfway through the year, regular season anyway, but we are. And I was at the Dixon County and Kirkwood game. Of course, Kirkwood came into town perfect, 4-0. They had a really good start to the season, but Dixon County was really able to run the ball and control the clock and play great defense, and they were able to come away with a 42-12 win. Dixon County is now 3-2 on the year, and they will be traveling out to Clarksville to face Isaac Shelby and a former player of Coach Tomlinson, which that was fun to learn Friday when I talked to him. But they're headed out there. That'll be a big region battle for the Cougars. So Creekwood, they played against Whites Creek last week. They won 14-6. They will be on the road at Fairview. They will take a 2-3 record to go play the Yellow Jackets. Fairview's having a down year. Creekwood might have a chance to get back to 500. Over on the Cheatham side of things, Cheatham County Central lost to Fairview 28-21. Late score for Fairview to pull ahead there. Cheatham is now 1-4 on the year. They will travel to Joe Burns. Joe Burns' team that's been struggling a little bit this year. Cheatham's got a chance to get a second win there. Sycamore, who is now 0-5 on the year after a loss to Stratford 42-14. Sycamore's been dealing with a lot of injuries this year. Hopefully they're starting to turn the corner and get healthier, though, with the region schedule coming up. They will travel to White House Heritage on Friday. And our last team is Harpeth. They lost a heartbreaker, another one. Harpeth has lost a few heartbreakers this year, and they lost one to Waverly, 22-21 in overtime. Waverly scored a touchdown, of course, to tie it or in overtime, and then instead of kicking the extra point, they went for 2. And barely got in. I saw the video or the picture of it, and the Waverly player barely got in, but it looks like he did. And Harpeth again, heartbreaker. They're now 1-4 on the year, but they do travel to Summertown, who's struggling this year. They're 0-5, so Harpeth also a chance to get the second win on the year. So that'll be it. That's Week 5 review. Thank y'all. Have a good evening. We'll see you next week.
Folks, that's going to do it for this edition of the Main Street Preps High School Football Wrap-Up Show presented by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Look forward to seeing you guys again next week right here on Main Street Media Television.
You have been watching the Main Street Preps High School Football Wrap-Up Show with Chris Yao. Nobody brings you more comprehensive coverage of high school sports in Middle Tennessee than Main Street Preps. Join us each week at this time on Main Street Media TV to get the latest news about high school football. The Main Street Preps High School Football Wrap-Up Show was brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office.